So let's look a little bit at the drawing performance of this particular model. I'm going to zoom the camera out just a bit. So the first thing that everybody always wants to see is whether or not there's parallax. There is no visible parallax with this. I've never had any issue where I felt like it was slightly disconnected. It came out of the box this way as well. So as you can see, doing lines that are tapered, fantastic. Like this is top-notch stuff right here, in my opinion. It feels really good to draw on overall, which I think is the most important thing. Dots, very good. Activation, this is me putting as little pressure as possible. So there is a little bit of activation. That is something that you can change. And this is how thin it can go. And I just have my hand at the very end of the pen like this, and I'm barely pressing down. So initial activation, it's slightly hard, but not too much. Nothing that you'll notice as you're drawing. The other thing is, as you could see earlier, but I'll do it again, there's no fish hooking or anything like that. It just goes. There is a slight wobble as you draw, but that's only if you're doing slow lines. And it's nothing that, like, for instance, if you want to stabilize, which I didn't even notice, there is stabilization on this right now. I hate drawing with stabilization. But if you want to draw with a little bit of stabilization, maybe like 10 to 15 or so, it'll probably get rid of that wobble. But if you draw fast enough, it's non-existent. It just doesn't really happen. The one thing I did want to mention is this is me doing this review after I've already used this tablet for a month and a half. I've probably put in about, maybe between 80 and 100 hours of work on this tablet, and I haven't noticed any kind of negative in my drawing experience with this tablet overall. I guess one more thing that I can quickly show you is the how it goes from light to dark. So we'll start here. Oops. So it's really light and to dark, light to dark. So as you can see, very smooth transition right in here. And I think that it's fantastic for that as well. So overall grade for the drawing performance, I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. It's the best tablet that I've used. It's on par, in my opinion, with the iPad, because I also have an iPad. I would say it's exactly the same experience, if not better, because the screen's bigger. All right, moving on to the next thing. All right, so the next thing I wanted to talk about is the overall quality of the screen. So the 2.5K means that it's QHD. I have noticed such a big difference in the quality of the work that I'm able to do, but also how good it looks as I'm drawing on it. I would highly recommend, if you're in between, if you're one of those people that you don't necessarily need a whole bunch of screen space, but you really want to have like really good quality work and like really good quality looking lines as you're drawing, this is something that I would highly recommend, just because it's so crisp looking, and it's something that you're going to hover over as you're drawing, right? So that pixelation that you typically see in this size of a display when it's just, regular HD, you don't get that with this display, and it's really nice and crisp to use. The other piece of it is the overall colors of this display. So I do have a color calibrator. I will say, like, I haven't really gotten much out of using the color calibrator. And the reason for that is because I think that this screen out of the box is probably accurate enough in comparison to what people are going to see on their iPhones, for instance. And that's actually the thing that matters the most, unless you're going to be printing. Now, if you're printing things, then I would highly recommend that you get a color calibrator, because you will notice a huge difference between the colors of an uncalibrated screen and the colors of a calibrated screen. But other than that, I do think out of the box, the colors are really good. There was a slight difference in and the colors overall after the screen was calibrated, and I'll try to put up a little image up above just so you can see that. But overall, I would say it's not necessary for this particular tablet. Now, the other thing that I think is really good with this tablet is the express keys on the side. They're not super bulky and they're not taking up a whole bunch of space, which is really, really nice. And there's just enough of them for you to be able to do things like undo and, lasso tool or zoom in, zoom out, things like that. And I have found it to be really, really nice for my workflow, specifically because I don't have a spot for a keyboard on my desk, so it's been really helpful for me. Huion also has controllers that you can get that would also allow you to have even more shortcut keys. So that's something, I think that's around $50 that you could probably get as well. So that's an overall, review of the tablet itself. I'm going to give you some of the negatives that I found in this tablet as well, and then I'll go ahead and give you an overall grade and whether or not I think that you should buy this particular tablet. Negatives. So the first thing that I want to say that I find is a pretty big negative is actually the stand. It's not horrible, but you don't really get that many different drawing angles on this stand. You're kind of stuck at doing around, I would probably say like 65 to 70 degree angle, and sometimes I like to have the angle almost straight up, and I can't really do that with this stand. The other thing is that the lip of the stand, while it has like a padding on it, it is pretty easy to kind of like, especially because I was used to a built-in stand. If you're one of those kinds of people too, you might try to pull forward on the tablet, and if you're not careful, it will slip directly off of that. So that's kind of my negative there. Another thing that I found a little annoying as I first tried to set up everything was the actual cord that plugs into the side itself. So there's it's a cord, and I showed you in the very beginning, but it has two heads to it, and you have to kind of put it in upside down almost so that the wires are coming out of the top, which is fine. But the problem with it is it doesn't really give you too much length. I like to work, I have it on a desktop is the kind of setup that I have. So with a laptop, it's probably not that big of a deal. But for a desktop setup, I had to actually move everything over to the other side of my desk in order to accommodate the actual outlet and everything like that would feed into the desktop. So that was a bit of a negative, but the good thing about this particular plug-in is that it plugs in really securely. It has like a satisfying kind of feel to it once you plug it in, which is always nice, and it doesn't feel like a cheap build, which is again always really, really nice. So I know that's not really a lot of negatives, but those are really the only ones that I could find with this particular tablet. And I think this is what, the fourth or fifth tablet that I've actually used. It's by far my favorite, and again, it's not me just coming off of like the high of having opened it and things like that, and being really excited that I bought a new one that's better quality and stuff like that. It's really that good. The drawing experience, which is always the most important thing, is fantastic, and overall, I've really, really enjoyed working on this particular. Alrighty, so what is my final grade for this tablet, and do I think that you should get it? So I would say it's probably a 9 to 9.5 out of 10. The reason why is because of the crispness of the screen. I didn't mention this, but the user interface is really good. I haven't had to reach out to anybody that does like the tech work or anything like that. What is that called? Support service. There we go. I haven't had to reach out to the support service or anything like that, so I can't give you commentary on that. But the drawing experience is just so good, and the overall quality of this particular model is fantastic, and it's a really good in-between for those people who are like pretty serious but don't necessarily have the money to do a 4K device. This one, I think, is plenty crisp enough. It gives you such a nice, clean looking screen. The drawing experience, like I've said a billion times, is so good. I love the pen. It has felt tips, which is really nice as well. It's just such a great device. I would give it a 10, but I don't think anything is perfect. I'm sure there's other screens out there that are just as good, if not better, that are bigger, and that would probably be a 10. But man, I do highly suggest, if you're kind of on the fence as to what you want to get, watch a couple more reviews of this particular tablet other than my own, and come to your own conclusion. But I really don't think that for the money that you're gonna really get a tablet at this screen size that is as good and as powerful as this one. And again, this is not, I'm not being paid for this. This is honest, my honest opinion on this. I wish I was getting paid for it, but I just am not. So anyways, I do hope that this was helpful. Please, I know a lot of you have been asking me a lot of questions about these tablets. Please do. I'm going to give you the honest truth. Like for instance, the 22R Pro that I was using, I loved that thing when I first got it, but as I kept using it, I was noticing all of these things that were really wrong with it. This tablet, I doubt that I'll have that same experience, just because, one, I've kind of gotten over that fresh glow of getting tablets and being excited about doing reviews. I'm going to be really honest about whether or not I actually like the device, and I honestly, I love this device. It's so nice. I can't tell a difference between working on this and my iPad, besides the iPad doesn't give me enough space. So I can't say enough about this tablet. Huion really knocked this one out of the park, in my opinion. And you can get it on eBay refurbished for a really good price. I can't remember what it typically goes for. I want to say it's usually between like a $700 and $800 range. On eBay, I was able to get it at $479 or something like that. So you can get it, and there was nothing wrong with it. It basically felt like it was fresh out the box, new. So that's another way that you can, make some ends meet or cut some corners. But anyways, I hope that you enjoyed the video. And again, leave any comments that you want. I'll answer all questions. All right, I'm Manga Mike, and I'm out.